Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Um, I know this is a really late one, depending on what time zone you're in. I just got back home for being out all day, but inshallah, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you catch this. If not, live, of course, on the replay. I had a wonderful day. I'm blessed, I was able to sleep in and be well rested for the most part and go out, get some nice food. Got some really nice incense and stuff like that, some really nice tea. And now I'm chilling back at home. Probably gonna after this probably like play some video games, get ready for Sunday, and just chill out on Sunday and work out and whatnot, and prep for the next rest of their work week. So hope you guys' weekend is going pretty good. I did some short videos earlier about the Lil Nas X thing. Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep that guy's name out of my mouth because a lot of those people do things for clout, and that's one thing they thrive off of. No matter what they do, whether it be something wicked or positive, the more you talk about them, especially on social media, YouTube, or anything like that, whoop-de-whoop, it gives them clout. So I feel very strongly about that. I'm totally against what he represents. So I'm going to try to refrain from saying his name. That being said, on a positive note, I'm going to start this off with the definition of love, right? Because that's the topic. What does love mean to you? So, according to Google, from the Oxford Dictionary. Sorry, I'm a little sloppy. It's I'm taking my medication and stuff like that, so I'm a little tired right now. But it says an intense feeling of deep affection. It's using the example, babies fill parents with feelings of love. Similar words are, I think it's called synonyms. Fondness, deep affection, tenderness, warmth, intimacy, attachment. And another definition is a great interest and pleasure in something, such as an example is his love for football. Right? And actually, I'm kind of surprised that those are the definitions because maybe, I've gotten this from people, especially like exes when I was like younger. Oh, you don't know what love is, yada, 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 yada. But love is a little bit more intense than that, at least for me. Like, I'm saying, like a deep affection or something like that. Love is like hatred almost, or any kind of emotion that just captivates you and drives you and conquers you, right? I think you kind of surrender to it. And some people fight it, of course, and I kind of struggle with that too. I'm saying? Like, I had previous streams about my experiences with said person that I had affections for. And of course, she was never available pretty much or anything like that. The guy's actually a good guy, so I'm actually glad she's actually with somebody that's pretty decent. But that being said, I did have like a huge crush that I considered a long time to be love. And for a reason, actually, what's kind of crazy is after doing therapy and taking medication, those feelings kind of don't resonate as much anymore. And I can't really explain it. Like maybe I put her on a pedestal because I was going through a lot. And, I thought that she was some kind of like, Madonna figure, and to get me out of my slump. But that being said, moving on, I think a lot of us love something, obviously, right? It's a very human emotion, and it's almost like an instinct for us. Excuse me, let me clear my throat. But some of us, in particular, I mean, if you look upon history, love is always characterized as being like this romance, right, between people and things like that. And I think it gets misused like as a word, for the most part, because just like a general word that we can say something like it before. You love football, you love this, you love that. There's a really good KRS-One song. It's called "Love Is Gonna Get You," and it talks about the rise and downfall of drug dealer during the 80s. He loved materialism, he loved his car, he did all that because he loved his family. I mean, love can be a negative, destructive thing just as much as hatred. If you look at, let's say, the Crusades, people they love, whatever religion ideology, and they use that to justify abusing people and atrocities and things like that. Unfortunately, that happened on both sides. Whatnot. Another thing is people's love of their country or their love of a certain ideology. Communists have love of, communism and the working class and the proletariat, and that justified, a lot of things they did, the repression and, genocides, and things like that. Same thing with like the fascists, their love of their country or their fascist party justified ethnic cleansing, things of that nature, right? You can see it throughout history. So love could be a devastating thing as well, because love kind of segregates people. Especially we like to think like the hippy dippy version of love, and all you need is love and love everybody and stuff like that. Love is a very segregating emotion because human beings, for the most part, I don't really think we're naturally monogamous, especially men. But if you love somebody, most of the time you want access to them exclusively, right? Especially guys, like I want to get with a girl that I really love and just have her, out here in the streets doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why I could think I would never be able to marry a porn star or marry like a girl in the sex industry whatsoever. Even a girl with an extremely high body count. Like if she like changed her ways and she wanted to settle down and stuff like that, I think that when people live those lifestyles, it's very hard for them to kind of come back from that. Like that's something that's going to be really hard to kind of like have an exclusive relationship with, unfortunately. And so with this stream, I'm kind of basically going to talk about what people love, right, outside of this the romantic thing. And I think what's so devastating for in my life is this happens to a lot of people, regardless of what you believe in or disbelieve or whatever like that. But what I kind of noticed, right, and I'm going to be completely honest, people that don't have any religion or any spiritual beliefs, they love the things in this world that are so temporary, right? Like they love their boyfriend or their girlfriend. And that's why when those people leave, their world is just crushed and devastated. Granted, of course, in religion, we, fall in love and have romance and believe in marriage and stuff like that. So you can say we experience it too, but it's on a different level, in my opinion. Because for me, like, regardless of what religion, I believe in, whether, when I was Christian or Hebrew Israelite or dabbled in Buddhism and stuff like that, I always loved, the higher purpose of life. Whether it be, my connection with God or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or, you can even say maybe the universe, if you're one of those spiritual people that's not religious at all. Like that connection was always the paramount. And when I kind of lost that, I noticed things were different. Like you fall in love with somebody, and unfortunately, especially like a lot of young people, we don't really know what love is. I mean, especially with like the rise of single parenting and things like that, we don't see a lot of good examples of like actual love, right? The most we get is through the media, especially Disney and like the Disney fairy tale version of love, which is hyper unrealistic, right? So when we're young, we fall in love with somebody. Unfortunately, a lot of that is just infatuation, and a lot of that also, for what I see, is based upon sex, right? That's my biggest gripe about the whole quote unquote love wins thing that people used as a moniker. And, I'm going to keep out, the respective movement that was attached to. But even like, with the whole quote unquote free love thing, like that really wasn't based on love. That was based upon lust and people wanting easy access to have promiscuous sex, and to go against the norms of the society conservative, hyper monogamous or religious culture at the time, which is, the 50s and the 60s, right? And I think that's very disingenuous, right? Like if, granted, I have my, of course, religious beliefs, and, I know what the Sharia says, That being said, I don't really harp on, and if I had all the power in the world, I really wouldn't try to limit who could see who, as long as they're an adult. In my opinion, like 16 and up is considered to be an adult. Some other people would disagree, but like, they're 16 and up, and they're emotionally mature. They should be able to have a relationship with someone. Granted, I believe in going the halal way, especially now, but I mean, I'm going to be realistic. People are going to do whatever they want to do. Let's be honest, that people are going to have boyfriend, girlfriends, or whatever like that. That being said, yeah, I believe I wouldn't want to limit who people can quote unquote love. Just because people, if they have those temptations, unfortunately, they're just going to succumb to them anyway. So if somebody, even if it's a haram kind of infatuation or lust or whatever like that, regardless of what the gender of the person is or how they identify, like people are really that really have those feelings are going to go out and seek it anyway. My thing is, even like quote unquote heterosexual people or vanilla people and stuff, I really wish that, promiscuity just kind of got clamped down on, you know what I mean? Because I think a lot of the problems we see in society is based upon promiscuity. If you look at, the Me Too movement, right? The Me Too movement exists in the same playing field in a post-sexual revolution Western culture where sex is considered like the most important thing to attain in your life for self-gratification and self-worth. Like if people aren't having sex or feel sexy or feel like they have sex appeal, they feel less than. They feel unimportant, ugly, outcast, and stuff. I mean, especially as a guy, like if you're a guy and you say you're a virgin, like that's a like profound insult. You know what I mean? People think you're lame. People think you're weak. People think that you're awkward. Something's wrong with you. Meanwhile, no matter what, if it's for like a religious reason or just maybe you're not into sex whatsoever, it's kind of weird how society has the gall to look upon you as being bad, and yet people, especially a lot of the time, they don't want to. They're disingenuous about it. Promiscuous people aren't always having safe sex. You know what I mean? If you look at bar culture and club culture, I mean, they want to talk about consent and this, that, and the third, but the whole environment is based upon people doing drugs and drinking and losing their inhibitions and loosening themselves up to have promiscuous sex with a stranger, pretty much, And that's the conundrum in society that I see. But moving on to like the second point I have. Second point I have is, sorry, forgive my voice. I'm a little raspy right now. But the second point I have is people love, ideals, right? Mentioned before, fascism, communism, but people love, like, let's say, like nationalists, right? Oh, I love America, right? And America's the best thing since sliced bread. And that justifies the end, and the means of, what we do or what this country does, in order to have its interest and have its place in the seat of the table of like, the power seat, right? And that could be very, very problematic, right? For a myriad of reasons, or people they love, like, let's say their race, and because they love their race, it justifies them being prejudiced to other people and dictating, who's going to be the supreme race or supreme group, of course, if you look at history, that has led to more wars than anything. I think it's really ironic that in the Western culture right now, the intellectual and academic circles, I think it's an easy cop out to a lot of people bashing and having criticisms of religion, which, you're free to have the criticism. A lot of them are valid. But one of the main ones is, religion has led to more wars than anything in the world. And I actually think that's actually false, right? A lot of wars were just basically created over resources, man. People want access to resources. And so they want to invade other people and attain these resources. And wars are the easiest way to do that. Yeah, and of course there's been ideology driven wars, but if there wasn't an economic incentive, nobody would fight. If there was no some kind of outcome of attaining more resources. That being said, with the resources, I mean, people love possessions. I mean, especially in America, we're a very consumer-based society, and people love being able to have the freedom to attain certain things, or have leisure. Like, everybody wants to, have the freedom to eat whatever they want to eat when they want to eat it. Yeah, that's why we have so much food waste, right? People want to be able to have the freedom to go anywhere where they want to go when they want to go there. You know what I mean? And that's why we invest so much in automobiles and the airline industry and stuff like that. People also like the freedom to buy whatever they want to buy when they want to buy it. I mean, that's why the internet, eBay, freaking Amazon, all of those things are so big right now. Since we're consumer culture, we love have an attachment to the materialistic world, and that's one thing that kind of made me gravitate towards living a more spiritual based life. Is because for me, I always acknowledge that I was never satisfied by material things. Like a new phone always comes out, a new laptop, a new video game, all those things, and so finding attachment to them, yeah, granted, enjoy your life and do these things, but it's not the end all be all. You know what I mean? Even for me, like, especially like, I loved music. I think there's like a Jimi Hendrix quote actually that I remember stuck with me as a kid was, music is my religion. Allegedly that's something that he said. And I always thought about like that, like music was a religion to me. I mean, I knew, everything about my favorite artist. I was constantly searching for new music and different genres. I knew lyrics like, how people might recite the Quran or Bible verses or the Bhagavad Gita and things like that. And especially, youth culture, I was in part of the, hardcore / metal, community and things like that, especially like the whole DIY scene is, a whole subculture and thing of itself, right? And to a certain degree, it gets cult like that. That's why I kind of like steer away from music for the most part these days. Is like, there's a whole debate, of course, if it's haram or not. But I find it's really problematic of how people get to a point where they literally worship their favorite bands and they worship, the identity that so much of their identity is based upon the music they listen to. And it gets so problematic in that sense. Or it can, be celebrities. Like people literally worship celebrities. They have to learn, everything that a certain celebrity does, what they eat, what clothes they wear, what car they drive, who they're having sex with, And to me, that's super problematic because for the most part, the people that do that, I notice are like the most miserable people. Like their lives are so mediocre. Their lives, they hate themselves. They hate the pace that their life is going. So they vicariously live through other people that can attain things that they can never have. And especially like me as a guy, sometimes it also happens, back in the day, I'm not trying to be vulgar, but, the pornography industry, I think there's a lot of men that literally porn is their religion, and, if you think about their favorite porn star, they spend hours and hours and hours watching it. And I think that's super problematic as well. So for me, like the thing I think about love is the first person I think that I truly love outside of my parents is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his messengers. And the reason I say that is because in my humble opinion, contrary to a lot of people think, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so merciful. And I've received so many benefits I noticed since reverting and taking my shahada, regardless if I was practicing as I should. Like I know truly that in my heart, in my soul, that I've received so much mercy And I'm so gracious for that. It's also made me reflect on the opportunities I had in life. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the best upbringing, but alhamdulillah, I had parents, and I will always honor my parents regardless of how I feel about them. I mean, I haven't talked to my dad, honestly, unfortunately, 2 years, and I kind of one of these days I'll elaborate on why we have such a strained relationship. It's for various reasons, but yeah, for the most part, I mean, I really love my family. I have a very dysfunctional family, granted, but at least I do have one. I mean, I know people that have been through the foster care system or don't know who their dad is, don't know who their mom is, or they were only children, right? And they didn't have any siblings. I mean, I'm so grateful that I had, siblings. I'm so grateful that, for the most part, I had parents in my life. I always had a roof over my head. For the most part, I always had like food, to eat. I mean, some people don't have these things, and we kind of, get really individualistic and seek inside of ourselves and don't have any gratitude for the blessings we have. You know what I mean? Just even waking up in the day, for instance, I had freaking waffles and pancakes for dinner yesterday. And that was like the ultimate thing, like the ultimate treat. Like, I don't want a filet mignon or any crazy freaking dish or sushi and stuff like that. I want pancakes and waffles to eat just because that's what I want to eat, And the fact that I'm able to go and do that and eat it at my leisure, and have access to that, while, there's probably billions of people that don't even have access to eat the foods they want to eat on a regular basis, And I'm super blessed to have that opportunity. And I think about, especially like battling, with my mental health issues, depression and anxiety. I think, like, especially with depression, one thing I notice about it is when you're really going through it and you're internalizing so much and you're sunk inside your own head, you are not gracious for the small things in your life. I mean, I literally lived in like a dilapidated house with no door. I lived in places where like literally roaches were running around in my room. Rats were running in my room. I literally lived in places where I didn't even have a room of my own. I was like sleeping on somebody's freaking couch. I mean, and yeah, I've been homeless too. And so I'm so grateful that I can come home and have a really nice queen size bed with really nice covers and sheets. Have a TV in my room, have the internet to watch pretty much anything I want to watch, and set the mood for myself in the environment that I choose to, because I know that I didn't have that before. I remember, wondering where I was going to get my next meal. I remember not feeling safe and feeling like, hey, I'm going to have to sleep, outside tonight. And alhamdulillah, I'm in a different place now, and I'm so grateful for that. And I noticed that if I don't constantly think about that, that's when I kind of go off the ledge and start getting into, well, oh yeah, well, I'm single and I don't have a wife, and I haven't been intimate with someone in X amount of time, and I'm on a dry spell, and I don't like my job sucks, and I wish I made more money, and all these different things, right? And especially for me, like giving up music, and I'll go and have a whole spiel why that happened, but giving up music, I mean, like I said before, music was my religion, and that was such a shock to kind of like do overnight, and not have access to that, whether it be the community aspect or just like the fun and the connection you have spiritually playing music. I mean, it's indescribable. I mean, honestly, when I played music, it was better than sex. I mean, I kid you not. You know what I mean? And that was my dream. That was my dream, was to be a musician. Maybe not make a living off of it, but, release albums, go on tour, and express myself that way. You know what I mean? Like, as a kid, like, I always looked up to musicians and bands I played, that I listened to. And I was like, oh, man, dude, that would be the best life ever. You know what I mean? Even if you don't make a lot of money, I mean, just playing music and being an artist in general just seems like the best life ever. And of course, I had to give that up, right? And even after my shahada, unfortunately, that love wasn't transferred to anything that I should have transferred it to. And I think, like, especially if you're a practicing Muslim or regardless of what religion you believe in, I think that your prime love should always be towards, your God, your deity, you know what I'm saying, on that level, and the teachings that you're supposed to espouse to. Because, I mean, we kind of go through phases, and in this life, in this dunya, we get so caught up in the temporary things, the temporal world, and we kind of trick ourselves into thinking that. But I mean, honestly, real talk, I mean, we're going to die, right? Regardless if you believe in afterlife, reincarnation, and stuff like that. I think a lot of things that we take as being super important don't really matter. They don't really matter whatsoever. And I remember, like, when I dabbled into Zen Buddhism. I mean, Zen Buddhism is so amazing. I always kind of remember concepts of it and kind of, like, think about, whether it be the meditation or different doctrines that it has. But one of, like, the best doctrines I heard from about Zen Buddhism was, the basic tenets of attachment causes suffering. And I truly believe that attachment does cause suffering. My attachment to music, my attachment to, partners or lovers that I have, my attachment to places I live, my attachment to, unfortunately, intoxicants. All those things led to a lot of adversity in my life. Especially, I felt like I had to constantly attain those things to be happy. Now I feel like the only thing I really need in this life, outside of, like, the obvious things that we use to sustain ourselves, right? You know what I'm saying? Like food, shelter, water, things like that. Those are very important. But the most important thing is for me to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I go and I do my very best to maintain a relationship that's positive with my creator, I think my life is so much better. I feel like I could brave anything. I could brave life in prison. I could brave, losing my whole family. I could brave, something really bad happening to me and me losing an arm or leg or something like that. Like, I truly believe that I can basically conquer any storm. And it feels so beautiful to feel that way. I mean, especially when I was impatient. I mean, that I can tell you what, I'm going to share a video that I did in Impatient if I still have it, if I haven't deleted it. But a week, basically in that situation where you're, like, in scrubs and you're around a bunch of other crazy people and you don't have access to anything that you took for granted, and you don't know what to do with yourself, so you're trying to do things to get your mind off things and be productive and enjoy yourself in general, as well as trying to, like, heal. I can tell you that there's nothing like that. And it truly humbled me and made me feel so much gratitude for the things I have. I remember, like, the day I got out and just going home and just taking a long hot shower, and going back in my room and laying on my bed, just being home, how liberating that felt. And it's definitely something I'll never, ever forget. I actually kept the scrubs with me, and I'm going to keep them with me for the rest of my life, because, that changed everything, my whole trajectory in life. Definitely, it was like being born again, when people talk about baptism, being born again and all this kind of stuff. I mean, really, that felt like a whole rebirth, if you would like it. My whole outlook on life is completely different now. I mean, I'm not consumed with, easy access to, to sex. I'm not concerned with, obsessing over music and movies and all this kind of stuff, video games and a lot of that doesn't matter to me anymore. Oh, even like having a lot of friends and stuff, because that was really important to me too, especially when I was into music, like knowing everybody in the scene and, you know, this, that, and the third, especially with social media, like friending or having, you know, hundreds of friends, even though, you know, it probably wouldn't piss on you when you're fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys just party together. It's nothing any serious, but you kind of kid yourself because you guys like the same music, right? I mean, to me, that's so, it's so powerful to have freedom from that. And, yeah, so, I mean, that's the title of the video. It's like, you know, what does love mean to you? I think a lot of the times really, people just lust after things in this dunya that are temporal. Some of the stuff actually being self-destructive, you know, unfortunately. I mean, especially when I was like in the whole music thing. I mean, dude, there's so many people I know that idolize these dead rock stars or these like these rappers and musicians and artists that were just so self-destructive, and a lot of them died you know, early death, whether it be for drugs, suicide, accidents, and stuff like that. And when you're young, you're a teenager, you kind of look upon that as being romantic, right? Like there's a romance behind that. And it's so toxic. And every generation falls for it. Like, how many people are going to fall in love with the 27 Club? You know what I mean? And, you know, I mean, I remember like all of my high school friends, like putting those people on a pedestal like they're gods and envying that they died so young and had such a cultural impact, things like that, you know? Meanwhile, the guy that does a 9 to 5 or, you know, even maybe he's an entrepreneur that provides for his family, does the whole traditional thing, if you will. He's looked upon as being lame, you know what I mean? But being a junkie, drug addict, and, you know, living the high life and being self-destructive and being in toxic relationships, I mean, that's sexy, right? And that's the thing that, unfortunately, a lot of the young people gravitate to. And the music industry and entertainment industry, of course, takes no accountability for that because they're like, hey, the biggest cop-out I ever see that they use is same thing with the pornography industry, too, is like, oh, you're not raising your kids, and if you were raising your kids right, they wouldn't have access to that. Meanwhile, these same industries do everything they can to expose young people to that because it's the markets, right? It's a part of like capitalism. A big thing part of capitalism is having as many markets as possible. So, I mean, especially with like, you know, pornography, for instance, right? The porn industry likes to act like they don't want people under the age of 18 to view their material. But I mean, obviously a lot of these so-called porn stars, they're not getting into the game, not knowing anything about pornography. Obviously they were exposed to it when they were younger. And there's even like a lot of these actresses are straight up like, yeah, like I was 14 and I really wanted, you know, and I was already being promiscuous and having sex anyway. And, you know, the idea of being a porn star didn't seem too far-fetched. You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy that it's like that. You know, that's the culture we live in. I mean, imagine like a woman like 20, 30, maybe 40 years ago, you know, the freaking, you know, 50s and 60s, and her biggest aspiration was to be a groupie, or her biggest aspiration was to be a prostitute. I mean, you look upon that as being crazy, right? But like, that's actual something that's getting normalized right now. You know, I'd be damned if I have a daughter or even a son, right? And I had them say that their biggest aspiration is to be a sex worker. You know what I mean? That's freaking insane. I mean, you could be like, you know, somebody that's productive in society that, you know, helps change the world, because unfortunately there's not enough people that want to take accountability for the way the world is and wanting to change it. So, you know, that what they want is easy money and they want to have fun, right? So, you know, being paid to have sex and do drugs and stuff like that is a feasible thing. But, you know, being a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or a social activist, right? Nobody wants to do that, right? Because it's not sexy, it's not cool, and it's traditional, right? So I think a lot of that's really unfortunate, you know, that we're kind of reaching a point like that as a culture, especially in the West. But unfortunately, another thing is that's happening is like, of course, the West, because, you know, we're capitalists, we want to expose these virtues to other countries as being a liberating thing. You know, like we're so concerned with like spreading like liberal ethics and morals, things that we consider important to other places. You know what I mean? Some simple farmer or some simple herder, what have you, that lives in a country in the East, whether it be in Africa or anywhere in Asia and things like that. We look upon them as being backwards. Meanwhile, they're providing food for their family and their community, and they're living a sustainable lifestyle that is not hurting the environment. Meanwhile, here in the West, we're, quote, liberated, and we use an overabundance of resources, and we have to also create conflicts, right? To gather as many resources as possible. We have the stock market, which financially exploits people. I mean, it's crazy, just the logic. I mean, that I kind of see now. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the reason I see that is based upon my experiences. When you're locked up, for the most part against your will, involuntarily, because you're deemed as a threat to yourself or other people, you have a lot of time to kind of think about philosophically about life and what it's about and what true values you have. And I'm so glad. That's why I'm kind of using this platform. I'm so glad that I have an opportunity to kind of like spread this message to other people. I think a lot of people need to hear something like this and take out the time to realize, there's more important things in life than gossip or celebrities or, the materialism out there. And there's not enough people that kind of are saying that, unfortunately, because it doesn't make money, So give me 1 minute. I got to do something real quick. Thank you for the people that are in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, feel free to comment. And actually, there's not many people here, but I'll open up the link if you want to jump in. Just comment if you want to jump in, and I'll share the link. I know it's real late, so I'll probably end this, within 15 minutes if nobody wants to jump on. Because I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I do like to talk, but I don't really see the point in reiterating point after point, because obviously people kind of got the message by now, right? So give me one moment. Feel free to comment. Yeah, so yeah, that's the gist of it, you know what I mean? And hopefully you got something from this, and hope especially one thing I've been doing is when I'm out, especially with this whole pandemic culture, I noticed that a lot of people have gotten so introverted. I really try to go out of my way to like let people know, hey, hey, how's your day? What's going on? And make people feel like their lives are valued. I mean, because that makes my day, right? That makes me feel good. I mean, of course, there could be some people that just don't want to be bothered, and usually they let you know if that's the case, right? Either aggressively or passively aggressively, like, right? But especially with like the whole hate crime thing that's been going on against Asian Americans. I mean, I noticed I've gotten so much love and so much respect from people just saying, hey, as a black man, I know what it's like to be discriminated against. And, and I have my criticisms of how the Asian community has had a history of maybe not supporting black community struggles. But, I put that aside. This is not a pissing contest or an oppression Olympics. I let them know, hey, I have your back. I understand what it's like. And it's not acceptable, right? Or if I see someone that is Muslim, like there was a sister I saw earlier, she was Persian, she had her hijab on, and I gave her my salams. And then later on, I ended up meeting her again on the street. She was getting coffee at a Starbucks, and I was like, I chopped it up with her, and I was like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, like, and blah, blah, blah. Thank you so much for wearing hijab and having the courage to do that, because it's a really taboo subject and things like that. Or if I even see like a Muslim family walking together, I go and give them my salams, and even if it's awkward, like I think it's something that's necessary. I mean, the state of our ummah, the things we go through, and we really just don't support each other, or we vocally just don't support each other. Everything is kind of tribal, right? Like Salafis hang out with Salafis and give them, the props due. Sufis do the same thing. Arabs only hang out with Arabs, Pakistanis with Pakistanis, Africans with Africans, and we don't kind of cross-pollinate and let each other know that, hey, we're all brothers and sisters of the same faith, and we need to support one another. And it doesn't take much to go out and salam somebody. You don't have to go and donate to this, and that, and the third, or work a bunch of charity and stuff. Inshallah, you know what I'm saying? That's a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I live in the real world, right? People aren't going to do that. If people actually did do that, I mean, the world would change overnight, right? So it's unfortunate. So, I mean, the very least you can do is, a salam to people. You know what I mean? And, I'm so happy that, I mean, the ummah is not perfect, but alhamdulillah, like, receiving love from a fellow Muslim, especially when you're going through things. Like, I used to basically message people and be like, hey, if you make dua for me, I'll make dua for you. I'm going through a lot. I'm going through a mental health struggle, financial stuff, whatever. That when somebody says, hey, I'll do that, and then may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for you, that means so much to me. It's more than, we see on social media, people say thoughts and prayers, and it's like, bro, you're atheist. You don't even believe in the power of prayer, but you're just going to say that because, it's the nice thing to do, right? It's a hollow, disingenuous message. But when somebody says and they actually mean it, and at least in your heart, right? I mean, that they're at least making an effort to acknowledge that you're going through a struggle, that matters so much to me. You know what I mean? And that's the only reason I'm here is by people supporting me, even people that maybe we were friends at one time and I burned bridges, and I'm going to have a video about that, of burning bridges and how I learned from that, really good friends of mine, and contacting them out of the blue sometimes and just being like, hey, we may not be cool, but I really appreciate the times we had together. I really appreciate, the things we did together. I really cherish those moments. And for those people to also reply back like, hey, it's water under the bridge. I really hope that you're doing well. I really hope that things are doing well. I noticed that, you're even making changes, you know what I mean? And that means so much to me. That feels so profound when people do that, because there's so much just hate in the world, you know what I mean? Even people that say, we stand for love and this, that, and the third, and we're sympathetic to this, empathetic to that. I mean, some of these people are the biggest hypocrites, because when somebody doesn't believe what they believe, or when somebody does something, let's say they make a mistake, granted, there's levels to mistakes, but they don't have that same kind of empathy or sense of forgiveness, but they want people to have that as a virtue to give to them when they face something, And wallahi, I really hope that people don't make mistakes that they can't come back from, that are super serious. But unfortunately, a lot of us do. And it sucks when you're just socially isolated as a result of making a mistake, especially people on social media. I remember why I made my mistakes, and people on social media tagging me and letting all their friends know, whether it be mutual or serious or close friends, their family members know, hey, blah, 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 did this or said that. And already feeling, because I'm one of the people that actually has the sense of shame, right? I don't like hurting people. I don't like disappointing people whatsoever. I'm really hard on myself. So when I see stuff like that, I mean, it just drove me under so many times, just knowing hey, I'm a piece of crap. I'm a terrible person. And everybody thinks that I am, and everybody knows that I am. It really didn't give me a incentive to change. What it really made me do was just isolate and get further big into self-destruction, because I hated myself, But that's the gist of it. I'm not going to go on too long. I think I've been on for quite a bit. Thank you so much for seen this video, if you happen across it, please like it, and please, please, please put the word out there, share this with people, and subscribe, so we can get this thing rolling. Because I really don't want to sit up here and beat a dead horse and just talk and have these monologues, right? Like, I want to engage with people, especially people in the or just people in general, right? Like, to talk about these things, because these are conversations that we really should be having. And unfortunately, in the world we live today, we have more conversations about sex and dating and getting tore up, getting lit, music, and all this stuff. Granted, hey, if those things are important to you, it is what it is, right? I mean, because I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say that maybe every now and then I don't kind of engage in those conversations or consider those things important. But wallahi, like, this life is so short. I really wish that we took time in today's culture and today's climate to kind of talk about the bigger picture, right? So thank you so much for viewing this video. I hope to catch you on the next one. I mean, I honestly get pretty energetic late at night, so maybe I'll do more on the weekends, like late night videos. Who knows, right? But I really want to do videos where I kind of catch people so people can kind of get on here. But yeah, take care. If you're viewing this right now, you are loved. You are important. Your life matters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us Jannah and show us mercy on the day of judgment, whether if we believe or disbelieve. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Take care. Have a wonderful night.